welcome to my channel. My name's Addie. Today I'm doing a monthly book wrap up for the month of May. I read a total of 14 books and I'm really excited for this month's wrap up because the majority of my books are physical. I read a total of 14. Let's start off with the Carvel series. This series was really popular on my TikTok feed about, 6 months ago. It's probably still rotating as a popular book talk book. Overall, I would say it's a 4-star read. For those of you who haven't read this series, it revolves around a game that obviously you want to win. And throughout each of these books, there's a different game with a different prize. This first book is told from the POV of the older sister. The other two books are told from the POV of the younger sister. This series ties into another series that I also read this month called Once Upon a Broken Heart. Unfortunately, that series I don't physically own, so I'll put a picture of its covers here for you guys. I ended up giving this series overall 4 stars as well. Technically, you don't need to read the Carvel series to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series, and I did like this series better than Carvel. But if you read the Carvel series, you'll understand the world already, plus you'll get some backstory of the events of Jax, who is the love interest for this series, and the 2 sisters that are in this book end up being mentioned in this series as well. After Once Upon a Broken Heart, I finally managed to finish reading Crescent City this month. This book was so difficult to get through. Just the very beginning chunk because of all the world building and info dumping, and honestly, I didn't really connect with Bryce as a character. She came off as a really bratty party girl. But I stuck to it like everybody on Reddit recommended, and sure enough, her character got better. The story and the plot, oh my god, it's so good. Throne of Glass still sits as my favorite SJM universe. This is my second favorite now, though. I'm really excited to read the second book in this series, and then the ACOTAR series would be my third favorite in the SJM universe of things. If you haven't read any of these series, they are all going to be interconnected, and well, they are interconnected. This one specifically takes place in Crescent City. There are 4 houses, and it follows a main character who comes off as a party girl at first, who is very selfish and only cares about herself. But the story then quickly progresses. There's a lot of corruption in the politics of this world. It's a really good fantasy read. If you haven't read it, I recommend it. I pretty much would recommend any Sarah J. Maas book though, if I'm being honest. After this book, I picked up the Ex-Hex. This is another one that was on TikTok and that was really popular, but I didn't like it. I gave it 3 stars because it was okay. I don't know if it's because it needed to be a little bit longer, but the relationship, the way that it developed was just so rushed. The way that the story closed up was really rushed. There is a second book to this, but I'm not gonna read it. This story does wrap up all in a neat little bow in this book. The second story follows other characters from this book, but like I said, I didn't quite enjoy this book, so I will be giving this book away. Next, I read Princess of Thorns. I loved this book. This book was phenomenal. It's a Mulan retelling. It's a standalone. They were able to wrap up the story. It's really short, kind of like how Ex-Hex was, but it's good. It's really good. The female main character is great. She's not one of those like dumb ditzy main characters. The love story that develops between her and the love interest is really good too. If you've never heard of this, I personally never heard of this book. I actually picked it up in a little library. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's like these little stands where people put books in for other people to pick up and enjoy. It's essentially a give and take system, and it's where I'm gonna end up putting this book for hopefully somebody else to pick up and find out that they love. Somebody out there has to love it. Next is the Cinder series. I heard about this series years ago through my sister-in-law, but I never picked it up because it's a sci-fi read. Recently, I joined a book club and it was recommended to me, and I was like, you know what? Fine, I'll pick it up. For those of you who haven't heard about this series, first of all, it is a YA book, so the spice level in this is literally 0. The plot in this is phenomenal. And each book is a Disney retelling. The first one is Cinderella, the second one is Red Riding Hood, the third one is Rapunzel, and Fairest is actually an in-between book, which gives you Queen Lavanna's backstory. For those of you who have read it, I did end up feeling a little bit bad for her. You guys will have to let me know if you kind of felt bad for her too. But I mean, at the end of the day, ew, she was terrible. Last but not least is Fahrenheit 451. This book was written in the 1950s, and it's almost scary how it lines up to what's going on in the world today. It's a dystopian book, so if you like books that have that dystopian vibe and line up a little bit with what's going on today, pick this one up. It's great, and it's a short read. That's everything for today's video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye!